Hey guys, um, first things first, my microphone gave up the ghost, so gotta start using the one on the camera. Hope that's cool. Hope you can hear me all right. And sorry in advance for buzzwords. I really do try and avoid them. Sometimes I just can't. Doesn't seem like I got the the imagination for it. Anyway, I have been trying to be pretty transparent about stuff that I got to work on, stuff between me and God, just so there's no mistaking how human I am, even though I don't know how many of you guys actually know me personally. That way, there's some encouragement there. Uh, and so, guess we'll just start there and see where we end up. Talked a couple weeks ago about just having to pull myself together, and still been working on that, making progress. I got I got some friends that are like, yeah, I'm fasting every other day and I'm spending this much time with God and this is happening and this is happening. Hooray. It's like I'm a kid in preschool hiding in a corner eating glue and sucking on his thumb. That's about what it felt like. So sometime man, I don't know, this whole last month or so has just kind of happened. So I'm real good with timing as far as when events have gone down. But I know there was this one person at work a while back I was just getting frustrated with, and I used to have a pretty big problem not saying stuff. Just didn't have the stones to muster up the courage to say something. And now I got about just about the reverse problem. God almost gave me too much self-confidence. And so anyway, somebody at work just left this mess for me, and I was just so I was complaining to God, but I was like, God, can I just say something to her? I would love to say something. And God's like, no, don't you do it. So, deep breath. All right. See how much I love you, God? I am refraining because you asked me to. I'm such a good little Christian, God. Didn't take long for him to bust my bubble on that. I remember exactly what he said. The gist of it was pretty much just, hey, that's not transformation. That is not what you should be aspiring to. Well, crap. I thought I was doing all right, just not saying something. I got to get to the point where I shouldn't even want to say something. Go from being obedient to just being godly, being like God, being like Jesus. Turns out I'm not as far along as I thought. And I have been getting better. It's just, when you first learn about something, first starting to get over yourself a little bit more, there's that give and take, that little bit of win and lose back and forth. And that's about where I've been. I've been trying to get better by just changing my perspective, at work, just not going in expecting to have 100 reasons to just be upset about everything. And another thing God told me after I got in trouble this last time. Me and the human relations chick are about on a first name basis now. I was just trying to collect myself because there's, with big companies, there's like a dozen steps you can take before you got to threaten somebody's job, and I haven't been on very many of those steps in between not being in trouble and being in the most trouble you can get. So once again, I went straight to very, very, very last warning or else. And I was talking to God about it. The whole thing, it's still kind of BS, but that don't matter. It is what it is. And I was complaining to God about it. And I'm just trying to pull myself together. And I said, God, I wasn't even trying to be destructive with what I was saying. I was trying to be constructive. I was trying to build something with people. I was trying to turn things around. What do I do? And then it was one of those life-changing phrases. This you hear it, and all of a sudden the light bulb turns on, and you realize, so simple. I hadn't been on for years. It's just, it's like he just stopped me. I was just doing something at work and said, son, don't push, don't be pushed. Simple as that. And I was just stunned. Because I got this thing, we all got stuck growing up listening to how important the golden rule is. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And that's what I've been doing. And it turns out a lot of people don't like being straightforward, being hard, being more accountable, pushing themselves, challenging themselves. And that's just what I like to do. I don't, there might be times on occasion where I get a little complacent, but I don't ever want to let that become a lifestyle. And I try not to. I push and I try and just take pride in what I do, whether it's work or pastime or just whatever. And it turns out that mentality is not that common to entry-level jobs. So I would push people to just keep, if we're on a team, there's always stuff that people can improve. And I kept seeing reasons for improvement, kept pushing for that. And sometimes, most of the time, maybe I just was not as diplomatic about it as I could have been. So that was where the don't push came in. I like to push myself a lot of the time. Sometimes, we just got to sit back and take a breath. But the way I was pushing people, it may as well have been bullying, to be honest. Just because it's not something they wanted. They didn't want to do a better job. And I wasn't in a position to keep them accountable to do it. So that's something I have been trying to settle inside myself. I got a little bloodthirsty this past weekend because I was watching one of my superiors just suck at his job. And I was getting so angry about it. No sense trying to justify it. Don't push. Don't be pushed. So I'm still trying to figure out how to do that and how to stay open and how to be more like God in dealing with people and interacting with people with that kind of unshakable perspective of love. It doesn't get swayed or impacted. It's just, hey, I know what you're going to try and do to me. We can be friends anyway, but you're only going to get away with what I let you get away with. Like Jesus with Judas. And even through all that stuff God was saying to me, I was still just that little kid in preschool hiding in the corner eating glue and sucking on my thumb. Just knowing there was stuff ahead of me I did not want to deal with at all. Kept trying to avoid it and kept trying to make things work out. I was making progress here and there. It was never the same as when you can just really, really give something to God. And my struggle was just the obscene amount of uncertainty involved. I mean, I can see that I had that same kind of perspective last time. And looking back on it now, it was something that's just, before, I just didn't know God that well. And so I was scared of everything. And then looking back on it now, it's like, I'm almost ashamed that I let that hold me up for so long. And now I can see it's just pretty much the same thing where I'm at now. Got that what's going to happen to me? Where am I going to end up? What about me? I got so focused on the things that seem difficult and hard and strenuous and challenging that I forgot to give God a place in all of it. So more or less, I'll try and get close, and then he'd just be chilling, always in arm's reach, always in earshot, just waiting for me. I try and strike up a conversation, and then this issue or that issue would come up. Then I go back to my corner with my glue and my thumb. And he's just always there waiting for me and waiting for me and waiting for me. And then finally, months later, I mean, it's been at least 2 months, probably longer. 2 months since I really knew I was running from it. Yesterday, I had a chance to just turn things around if I wanted to. The opportunity was there. So I got home from work, man. I just kind of started trying to suck it up and face some of it. Just laid there on the couch, trying to talk to God. Ended up pulling out my phone and just writing thoughts out to God. And I started out kind of religious, just trying to beat around the bush a little bit, not dig straight into it. I probably had it in me, but I did not feel it at the time. So I got like 3 or 4 sentences in, and then finally I was like, God, is this going to happen? What's the deal with this? And it just went for it. And then fell apart. I was just laying there bawling like a little kid, writing all this stuff out to God, just letting it all out there. Didn't know what else to do. Didn't have anything else to do. I really tried exploring my options. That was what I was doing in those months. And then finally at the end of it, I knew that I just kind of finally came back to myself through all the quagmire and a quagmire of emotions, just that awful, isolated desperation that seems to accompany fear and uncertainty so much. And just like I finally came back to the part of me that was just still with God. It's like I found something solid. Like I was out there just struggling to keep my head above water, and then I finally find this hand to pull me up out of it. Just came to the point where I was just, God, I don't even care what happens. I don't care if it hurts. I don't care where I end up. I just gotta have you. Finally came back to that point. Running from it for months and months. I've been thinking about running from it for a whole lot longer than that. But I finally found myself there with God again. That felt so much better. Things are so much better that way instead of trying to not deal with this and hold on to that. And I want this and I want to make this happen. I want to see this work out. And then just trying to bring all this together and still talk about how important God is to me when his priority is about the last thing I'm trying to hold on to. You talk about a reality check. But here we are now. I got, yeah, I've been talking to a couple more people, and some of them are like, "Nah, I just don't want to go to church." Seems like the understanding, the tradition of the church is turning antiquated. It's not about going and sitting so somebody else can sponge bathe your conscience for another week and give them a little bit of money for it, like shining your shoes. It's not about that. Those people, well, I don't want to go there. It's about being and doing. That's now where now where church is going so much. That's where people with a heart for God are going. And those, are just that collective hunger, that desire for God, and just nothing else, man. Piss on the rest of it. I want God. That's going to be our meeting place. Here for a while, I was just getting frustrated and discouraged about just people in general and how much most of them suck, just to be honest. And not really seeing a whole lot of encouragement in that. And I've dug into that with God before, and every single time, of course, it's going to be the same answer if I'm presenting the same problem or the same complaint to him. He just tells me it's not about looking at that stuff with the things that I can do, with my ability, with my strength. It's about just looking and going and pushing open a spot for God to do something. Whether it's with me or with somebody else, it's about just going and making a place for Him. That's what it comes down to. He's the one that's wanted to do the work anyway. We just got to set up the stage. We just got to be His roadies. We're all getting there, man. I'll never forget how lonely it can get. That's something that just really, really changed my perspective. Every time I'd complain to God about it, and just before I knew a lot of the people I know now, all I knew was church people. And yes, I want God. Let's stand around and let's get together for dinner so I can sit and tell you how much I know, because that's how church works. We'll call it a Bible study. And I'll lead it, of course, because why wouldn't I? And I just kept falling victim to that. And I said, dude, why are we all still the same if we're supposed to be doing something with God? So I just kind of it did get hard for a while. Just looking around and not really feeling like I had a person around that I could open up to, that I could really connect with on a personal level, like a peer, not just an acquaintance. That was what really started cementing what God and I are working on now. That relationship, that rapport, where I can just shoot straight with Him and it'd be okay, because He knows what's in my heart anyway, man. I'm not gonna sweep anything under the rug with Him. It's nice to have that kind of security, to know that no matter who I'm around, I still got God right there, and I can just look inward and find Him and still be real in that place. And it means so much to me. that he can be real back with me, not talk all King Jamesy and religious. And oh man, I talked about how things are kind of back and forth, win and lose. I was having a lose kind of morning one day, just in a bad mood, just because I wanted to be. Yes, well, that's what it was. And and this chick at work, I get along with her pretty well. She was taking some Bible courses in the evening just to just to benefit herself. I don't even know if it was an accredited college or if it was a college. I don't know. And so I was just trying to just mind my own business, man, keep my head down, listen to my music, and just keep my mouth shut so I don't get fired. Because I got in trouble for, well, I wasn't trying to be offensive when I got in trouble. Turns out, technically it was. But anyway, I don't even remember what I was mad about now. So you can see how important it was. And just trying to mind my own business. And then this chick's like, you should smile. And it's just, I don't want to be left alone to begin with, much less get told something like that. That's just something. Ugh. And I knew she meant well. I was trying to just be a good sport through gritted teeth. And I was like, hey, you get some of these people fired, I'll be smiling all day long. So then, it was back and forth like that for a little bit. And she's like, well, you got the Holy Spirit in you, right? I said, oh, crap, I don't want to go in this direction. She's like, well, why wouldn't you have a reason to smile? I said, all right. I just put my headphone in and went back to my job. Tried to collect myself, took 15, 20 minutes just so I felt comfortable enough watching my mouth when I'd start talking. Went back up to her. And I was like, hey, this and this and this and this have been going on. And I am being real graceful about it. I know what I need to do to fix it. And baby steps here. So I know what's going on. I know where I'm at. And I know where I need to be. And then I don't remember what she said. She's like, well, God says blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. And God told me to get over myself. Oh, God doesn't talk like that. God is love. I was like, oh, crap. What have I gotten myself into? And I was like, no, God talks to me like that. No, God's love. God, your judgment. No, it's God's love. And I was like, no. God's going to shoot straight with me despite how you feel about it. That's how me and God operate. If you want to be all cuddles and roses with God, go nuts. We'll see if you change at all in the next 20 years. I'd rather God just be honest with me instead of all sunshine and goosebumps and stuff. And so I went back and forth and I said, no, God tells me to get over myself. He told me that several times. And there was no way to cross any wires about it. That was what he said to me. And it was just, she was on sensory overload. But I knew before I was talking to her, God told me to tread light. Because despite what she's been taught, she's not trying to be religious. She's just loving God the best she knows how, which is religiously. So we got to meet them where they're at, even if that's not somewhere that we like to be. Anyway, man, I'd rather be transparent here. Give people something realistic to look at instead of some far and away image of something so holy and unattainable you can't even really build up your own hope for achieving anything like that in this lifetime. I don't want to play those games with people. I'd rather you just get to know God the way I've come to know him, as one of my very, very best friends. The guy I go to when I don't know anything. He means a lot to me. Anyway, we are where we are, man. We just gotta keep moving on. The end goal here is God. That is our reward. And that's what we can't lose sight of. So we'll get there someday. Anyway, love you guys. Peace.